So I know you guys have not heard about this case. It is Ohio versus Bionca Ellis. Bionca Ellis is currently charged with 10 felony counts. The most serious of those felony counts are the unaliving of 3-year-old Julian Wood and the attempted unaliving of his mother, Margot Wood, as they were leaving the grocery store. Now, Ellis has entered into a not guilty by reason of insanity because she was previously diagnosed as a child with schizophrenia. Now, at some point in time throughout this process, her attorneys filed for a psychological evaluation to determine whether or not she was actually competent to stand trial, which means did she have the mental state to help her defense formulate a defense to the crime that she's charged with. And after filing that, she was deemed to be incompetent to stand trial. So she went through 5 months of treatment that then restored her to competency, which means that she now had the mental capacity to help her defense formulate a theory pertaining to the crimes charged. Now, the not guilty by reason of insanity simply means that at the time, due to her schizophrenia, she could not determine right from wrong. She did not have the mental capacity to be criminally responsible because she was missing, she could not determine that her actions were wrong. Others disagree. And so let's get into the facts of what the evidence has shown in these last 3 days of the case. For the most part, I'm just going to show you the evidence that the state has presented and give you some brief summary of what the Margot, which is the mother, has testified to. So we are currently watching a clip of Ellis in the store called Volunteers American Store, where the prosecution is alleging she stole these 2 knives, which will eventually be used in the unaliving of Julian Moore and the attempted unaliving of his mother, Margot Moore. And this is all part of the plan that the state is trying to say she knew exactly what she was doing. Okay, now this is the grocery store picture. Okay, she walks into the grocery store with the weapon in hand that she previously just took from the Volunteers of America store. She's walking in, people are seeing her with the weapon, but no one calls for help. You can see it. Again, you can see Ellis just casually walking in the store. And then you see Margot and her 3-year-old son in the car, and you see Ellis behind Margot. It appears that Margot doesn't even recognize that she's being followed by Ellis. Margot was attempting to look inside her purse or adjust or talk to her son. And then she continues on her merry way, and Ellis continues outside of the store. Okay, now, the part where the state is going to argue is that Margot planned this because Margot can be seen waiting. She exited the grocery store first, and she waits for Margot and her son to come out of the store. As you can see, there is Margot and her son. And then Ellis decides that she's going to follow them outside of the store. Now, Margot testifies that she didn't even notice Ellis was following her. It wasn't until she was putting the groceries in her car that she noticed Ellis come behind her with the weapon. Casually, Ellis is just walking behind Margot. This is a picture of the police officers arresting Ellis right after the alleged unaliving occurred, and the weapon was found to be on Ellis. So there is no argument as to who committed the crime. The argument is just whether or not Ellis understood what she was doing at the time the crime was committed. I must say, the testimony from Margot was very emotional. Again, as I've watched this trial throughout the day, I must say the testimony that Margot gave was very emotional and very heart-wrenching. It was total silence in the courtroom while she was testifying, and the judge had to tell her numerous of times to take a break and to just actually breathe while she was describing the events that occurred. And this is just some of the things that Margot said while she was on the stand. Margot sustained injuries to her upper shoulder, while her son sustained injuries from the weapon to his face and the back, meaning he was struck with the weapon, the knife, in the face and in the back. And this all happened when Margot was putting her groceries in the car. She testified that once she saw Ellis coming to her, she attempted to push the cart back away so that Ellis would not have the opportunity to strike her son. Unfortunately, the cart fell down, and it was at that moment Bionca took the opportunity to strike, and she struck Julian, 3-year-old Julian, in the back. Julian and Margot were transported to hospitals in separate emergency vehicles. There was a nurse on scene who attempted to provide care for Julian, but it just was not enough, and Julian sustained injuries that ultimately caused him to be unalive. And so the testimony is being given by detectives, and it's just been a very emotional day. But let me know how you feel about this. Should someone be found guilty, although they don't have the mental capacity to determine right from wrong, or should she be found not guilty because she did not know? So are you determining the facts based on the crime charge or based on whether or not someone had the mental capacity to determine right from wrong? You let me know.